State. Jackson now has 18 TDs in his first 3 games after only 23 touchdowns in all of 2015. Stephen A's Crimson Tide rallied from a 21-point deficit to knock off Ole Miss 48-43. The win ended a 2-game losing streak to the Rebels. So Alabama remained #1 in the most recent AP Top 25, followed by Ohio State, who blew out Oklahoma, and Louisville makes the big jump from #10 last week to 3. Stephen A., who should be #1?
Oh, please. Roll Tide. Roll Tide. What's that talk about here?
Are you joking?
Listen. Lamar Jackson is big time. He's spectacular. I get all that. Bigger, stronger version of Michael Vick as far as I'm concerned. Running for 4 touchdowns, throwing another one. Certainly capable of galvanizing the team. But Max Kellerman keeps forgetting something. I was never high on Florida State. Did you remember that? I certainly did. When I saw Florida State come back against Ole Miss and all that, I wasn't fazed. Derwin James is a bad boy, no doubt. Him being hurt clearly hurt Florida State in this game against Louisville because this dude is special, possibly top 5 pick. Defensively, he's that big time. But I haven't been sold on Florida State. Never was. I picked Louisville to win this game. Lamar Jackson is my leading candidate for the Heisman. This brother's on another level, no doubt. But he ain't Roll Tide. They ain't Roll Tide. And if they go up against Roll Tide, I assure you that what Lamar Jackson did against Florida State ain't gonna happen against Roll Tide. I'm suspect about their defense just a touch. Jonathan Allen, that 75-yard interception return, obviously helped save the day. But Alabama was down 24-3, came storming back with 24 unanswered points, doing what they do, playing big boy football, and put Mississippi State on their heels. We get all that. I see where you're coming from. But in the end, what it comes down to for me is that Alabama, those meat and potato boys, how they play when it's time, how they'll punch you in the mouth and just steamroll over you, it's just too much for smaller teams to overcome. I am of the mindset that Alabama, Roll Tide, is the #1 team in the country. And I want to hear about scores and how they were down and had to come back. Did they win or lose? They won the game. They did what they had to do. They're #1 until you beat them. To be the man, Max, Spock, to be the man, you've got to beat the man.
Being
period.
Highly illogical, Stephen A. Look,
whatever.
I'm very proud of you that you have divined that Lamar Jackson is a Heisman frontrunner. You think?
We all do.
Responsible for 18 touchdowns through 3 games. You think he might be a Heisman runner? There's nobody else in the conversation right now. Sorry, everybody. There's also nobody else in the conversation. Not in the conversation for the #1 team in the country. Let me tell you what college football does. It's one of the great things about the way college football is set up. Everyone's opinion goes into preseason rankings. Those are just opinions. And so right away we get upsets like, oh, my God, look at this. And it's so exciting early in the season because rankings are changing and upsets are happening. But those are upsets based on people's just guesses before the season starts. So Louisville, okay, FSU I thought was, FSU and a couple other teams, Clemson obviously, I thought maybe their matchup in October, that would decide the national championship game. But it's really guessing until you see these guys play. Bobby Petrino, who stayed aggressive, by the way, throughout that game, was very impressive, has a team here that is just different from everyone else. Look, you bring up how you didn't like FSU. Look at the Ole Miss game. They had to come back against them. Jimbo Fisher's giving halftime speeches and all this kind of stuff and has to make adjustments. That's what Alabama did. FSU had to come back on Ole Miss. So did Alabama to finally get off the schneid against Ole Miss. They had to come back against them. Okay, so that's Alabama and FSU. It kind of gives you a basis for comparison. What did FSU do against Louisville? Louisville took them to the woodshed. Louisville turned them into Charlotte or Syracuse. Louisville 63-20, and it wasn't that close. It was really like 63-10. Those last 10 points are meaningless. They were ridiculous. Dalvin Cook couldn't get anything going. Yes, Derwin James' injury hurts, but not that much. 63-20. They're treating them like a nothing program. Louisville is by so far the #1 team in the country right now.
It's ridiculous.
That if you want to say to beat the team, you got beat the team. You got to beat the team. The team to beat right now is Louisville.
Well, listen, what I'm saying to you is this. Louisville moved up 7 spots, man. What else the hell do you want? They don't deserve to be number 1 yet. Let them beat Clemson when they play them in a couple of weeks. Hold on. Let them beat Clemson in a couple of weeks. Let them beat Houston near the tail end of the season. I think that game is like November 17th. Come talk to me at that particular moment in time. I told you I wasn't high on Florida State. I stand by that. I look at Alabama. Everybody's gunning for them. Everybody's bringing their A game. And by the way, I said Mississippi State. I meant Ole Miss. I apologize. They played Mississippi State later on. The point that I'm trying to make to you is this. When you look at Roll Tide and Nick Saban and who they are, the reigning, defending national champions, everybody's coming at them with their A game. There is something to be said about being the champion and having to fend off everybody's A game week after week after week.
So,
you have got to beat them.
If you're Alabama, but if not if you're the Broncos.
Without beating
if you're the Broncos, give the number 1 spot to the Steelers, but not if you're
this is college football.
FSU. Do you understand?
Not pro football.
Do you understand?
It's
right, because college football is heavily dependent on everyone's opinions, which are frequently proven to be wrong.
We got the college playoff system. Let Louisville be there. Louisville keep playing, they'll be there.
How's the Louisville defense that just kept Dalvin Cook to 54 yards? How is their offense that just hung 63, the most points ever given up by Florida State?
They're worthy of being the number 3 team. They're worthy of being the number 3 team in the nation.
Because they started out underrated.
You got to beat number 1, which they will get their chance to do if they run the table. They will get their chance.
Yes, Alabama will get their chance to beat number 1, which at this moment looks like Louisville.
Who's number 1 right now? Who's number 1? So, Mr. Smart, Mr. Logical, who's number 1 right now? Who's number 1?
Yes.
Who is number 1?
Subjective criteria.
Who is number 1?
Based on subjective criteria, it's Alabama.
Can I get an answer for my question? Can I get an answer for my question?
Subjectively.
Alabama.
Right.
Number 1.
But if you want to actually use the evidence, then it's Louisville. I mean, it's up to you. What do you